All right, welcome to the Experience Better video podcast series. I'm Josh Beekler, physical therapist, and with me today a repeat guest, Jeff Gossman, a physical therapist at Grand Island Physical Therapy. So today we're going to talk about knee instability and what that can lead to, what it's caused from, those kinds of things. So tell us, Jeff. Tell me about knee instability.
Knee instability is something we see extremely often here in the clinic. I mean, it affects all age groups, especially the developmental ages, your middle school, junior high, and high school. With growth spurts, sometimes the body takes a minute or two to kind of catch up, and what happens then is as the muscles are trying to balance out there, you get these imbalances and weakness while the body will start to compensate. Unfortunately, too, sometimes during these development phases, bad habits kind of develop. Well, often what you see is if someone is going to jump or land, their knees will go in when they take off or when they land. Sometimes too, you'll see people that even get diagnosed with flat feet. And I always have to say, is it flat feet or is it hip weakness causing the knees to dive in, which causes the arches of the feet to drop down? Sometimes if you have them just stand there in a static position, the arch height is normal. So it's just when you get them like on a treadmill, watching them run, you'll see that foot, that arch flatten down as they're running. But if you also look up at that knee's diving in every time they go to put heel strike on it. So one thing we look at is some functional tests to identify some of these people at high risk. Some of the tests we'll have them do is like a step down test off a box. Essentially, standing on a box, stepping straight down. Two things you often see, either that knee dives in or they have really poor eccentric control or the ability to lower themselves under control. So through that, we'll also test some strength in the hip. Often the side that has pain, there's a direct correlation to weakness in the proximal hip musculature, most commonly the hip abductors, or the muscles that make your leg kick out to the side. You often see it too when people are walking. They get that Trendelenburg gait pattern where the hip will drop out to the side, or sometimes they'll compensate for that and they'll actually kind of lean over that side as they walk to take the load off of that muscle. So these are all just different things that we look for. From there, we can take them through an exercise regimen where we're going to target those muscles specifically to help minimize risk of knee injuries of all sorts. Also, just patellofemoral pain or lateral tracking of that kneecap as the knee bends or you walk on it or run, for example. But by doing all these things, not only are you reducing the risk of injury, you're reducing pain and improving function. So those are kind of the big ticket items we look for, and often it's usually kind of that checklist, and you see most of those boxes filled in with a lot of these patients.
So just to kind of take it a step back, what you're saying is, so if I stand up and do a single leg squat, my knee dives in. As I go to squat down, there's nothing wrong with my knee. There's nothing wrong with my foot necessarily. It's all up here at this hip. This muscle that's on the side of your hip actually helps keep your knee in alignment over your foot, which would help maintain the arch of your foot and do all those kinds of things. So if I have good strength kind of at my core, at my hips, I can reduce and prevent a lot of knee pain, knee injuries. What are the common symptoms of patients you see who just over and over again they're just constantly dropping into that knock knee, or what we call valgus position?
Most common, they're going to complain of pain when going up and down stairs, jumping, running, squatting. Even older patients, they'll talk instead of, they're not going to squat, but they're going to be doing sitting down into a chair, stand up out of a chair. So essentially they're doing a squat, but they don't classify it as a squat. Those are the most kind of telltale signs you see with most of them, or with some of the athletes, if they start running or cutting, it really comes out then. But often with those younger individuals, they might be pain-free, but then a new season starts, a new sport, and then it's more jump heavy or run heavy than their previous sport was. And all of a sudden, the common response is, well, I didn't have an exact aha moment when I was injured. It just kind of came on out of nowhere and progressively got worse and worse. That's probably the most common thing you hear people say to you. And then they'll say, obviously, as the activity increases, their pain increases. When they rest, the pain decreases. So those are probably the most common things we hear over and over.
Absolutely. And so, and leading even to more devastating injuries, so like ACL tear, MCL tear. A lot of times, when you watch the slow motion replay of a football player, basketball player, or whatever, the direction of their knee is always a telltale sign of what had happened to them. That knee dives in, they plant, it went in, and that ACL is done for.
And that's the crazy thing. Most people think about like ACL injuries. The stereotype is that it's a guy hits you in the side of the knee and blows the knee out. And in reality, actually, that's a very small percentage of ACL injuries. Over 80% of them are non-contact.
Right.
It's the jumping, the cutting. In most football games, when you see it, it's cutting, and it's an open field. There isn't even a defender within 3 yards of them. So those are the ones that we're really trying to reduce the risk on. The contact injuries, it's no different than breaking a bone. There's not much you can do. That's just kind of bad luck.
Sure.
But the non-contact ones are the ones that we can really affect the risk of those injuries. But then also, with the jumping and cutting and those things, getting you better body mechanics, which at the end of the day will improve your sports performance as well.
Right. So if you're having knee pain, knee difficulties, it's very, very likely and very possible it's not your knee. It might be something above or below. So you got to come see an expert like Jeff to get it checked out and find out what the actual source of the problem is. So be sure and if you're having any of those issues, come see Jeff. So Jeff, a while ago we had all the flooding in the area. You were telling me how did it impact you?
I was supposed to do these videos actually a week ago.
Right, yeah.
I called Josh and said I'm surrounded by water on all 4 sides of my house, and my kids joked that we should get our kayaks out and go kayaking, and well, we actually did. We kayaked around our entire neighborhood, right across the street. It was a good memory, but very stressful day to say the least. So luckily we didn't get water in our basement. A lot of people around us did, so I felt kind of guilty about that. But hopefully that doesn't happen for another 100 years.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.